Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for clicking the link. You know what? It's amazing to have um, so many people wanting to join and find out all about how to heal your marriage. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Now, before I get into it, lots of you, or hopefully, will know that I am a relationship coach. I am accredited. I have got eons of coaching hours under my belt. I work with women who are struggling in their marriage, want to do something to improve their relationship, but feel stuck because their husband just doesn't want to go, together as a couple and go and take the relevant action. So here's where I come in. My specialism is in helping women whose husbands will not go to coaching find a way to take action on your own to get your marriage back on track anyway. And here's the thing, whether or not he wants to go and do anything about the marriage, it takes two to be married. So as soon as you break your habits, as soon as you start talking, thinking, acting in a different way, he has no option but to respond. He might not respond the way you want him to, but he will respond differently to the way that he's been responding before. And part of what my coaching can do is help you navigate that particular journey. So anyway, let's get into it though, in terms of heal your marriage. If you want to hear from me on a more regular basis, join my website. You can subscribe. I'll jump on my mailing list and you'll get updates from me regularly. I've got a YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn, and all the handles are the same at Nadine Ikea Abeng. So let's get into it. Heal your marriage, how to take action on your own to get your marriage back on track. Now, here is where my inspiration came from. I picked up this book on my mum's bookshelf. I was going through some issues myself in my own marriage. And honestly, I was the person, actually, just to be awkward, but I was the person who didn't want to go, as a couple and, all of that kind of stuff. But I knew that my relationship needed some attention, but I didn't want to go and do it with him. I actually, honestly, I knew that I was the problem and it was my mindset, etc. So that was a little bit easier. But the book was titled How One of You Can Bring the Two of You Together. And it really got me to thinking that you don't have to have two. So thank you, Susan Page. I'm not sure. I don't know if that book is still in print anymore, but the contents of it, though, is amazing. I'm sure if you reach out to her, you will be able to get hold of the book directly. But yeah, one of you definitely can bring the two of you together. Here are some of my suggestions. So as I said, I am a wife, mum of three gorgeous girls. I'm a relationship coach in that order. So as you can see, I'm wife first, I'm mum second, I'm relationship coach third. And so for those of you who know, I also have an English consultancy and I'm a school improvement advisor. Like I've got this whole other thing going on. But anyway, so I met my husband, got married and had our first baby in less than a year. I know, literally, literally in less than a year. And then we spent the next few years paying the price. And what I mean by that is that we had to learn how to be married to each other. We had to learn how to share our lives. We had to learn how to overcome the irritations. And we had to do it all with a baby who didn't sleep and who didn't, Olivia she's our gorgeous girl who's fussy eating. Anyway, I won't get into it, but basically we paid the price. We have earned our marital stripes in terms of how to get through certain challenges. So but I'm a certified life coach accredited by the IAPC&M, trained with the coaching masters. Yeah, the coaching masters. Amazing. Love it. So let's get right into it anyway. Expectations. Now, the first thing that you can be thinking about in terms of what you can do on your own to improve your marriage, to improve your relationship, is to think about what it is that you are expecting from your relationship. You actually create what you expect. So have you ever felt like you've got something happening at work and you're really dreading it and you're just expecting it to be stressful, or, all of those things, it ends up being stressful. I mean, it might eventually get to a point where it's a bit enjoyable, but that's because you'll have changed your mindset about how you feel about what's happening as those events unfold. If you leave your house and you're running late, and you're expecting there to be traffic, and there will be. If you're expecting to have a calm, chilled journey to work, it'll be chilled. You'll probably still have the traffic, but you won't notice it. And the point here is that you get what you focus on. So if you're been complaining, and I've been there, whinging and complaining to any of my friends who would listen to me about how annoying something was that was going on in my relationship. He hasn't done this or that or whatever. The more I did that, the more I noticed the irritations at home. The more I was annoyed with him, the more I noticed things to be annoyed about. But actually, when I shifted that expectation and I started thinking, hold on, what if I'm expecting him to be loving? What if I'm expecting him to be finding a way to speak to me in my love language, to show me that he cares, to, acts of service, whatever it is? And what I've actually found is that where I was expecting the positivity, he didn't change his behavior overnight. But in the midst of all of the things that were going on, I just saw the positivity rather than the negativity. So the number one thing that you can do is start thinking about, what expectations have you got? If you're on your way home and you're expecting another argument, it was stressful this morning when you left the house and you're expecting to come home and that argument is ongoing, I could pretty much guarantee you that argument will be ongoing. But if you left the house and it was stressful, and you come home and you're thinking, what, it's not going to be stressful, I'm going to find a way to make it like enjoyable, I can't guarantee for you your husband will respond exactly the way that you want him to in that moment. But he can't um he can't do the same thing if you do a different thing. So yeah, that's that one, expectations. So the next one is experience. Now this I came across, I was listening to something by Wayne Dyer, and he was talking about where we experience relationships, and this really struck a chord. So when I say, where is your marriage, where is it? And I looking at it on the screen, when he first said that in a video, I thought, what's that mean, where's your marriage? Right, at the end of the day, it's in you, it's up here. Your marriage is in your mind, and his marriage is in his mind. And you know what, the two of you don't have the same marriage. When he describes his marriage and you describe your marriage, you're probably talking about slightly different experiences. So what's in you is how you're going to experience that marriage. So where I was talking about the expectations, and I was saying that if you expect it to be a particular way, it will be. If you're carrying the resentment, and you're carrying the pain, and you're carrying the hurt, and you're carrying the frustration, and I know you're carrying those things because you wouldn't be watching this webinar if you weren't. But if you're carrying those things, then when you experience your marriage, you experience them through the lens of hurt and pain and frustration and all of those things. But if you are experiencing love and well-being and tranquility and peace and acceptance and all those good high vibrational things, I think I've got that phrase right with vibrations, then you're going to experience your marriage through those lens. Now, a good example here, there was this is just before the Easter holidays. We were getting the girls ready for school, and my husband was running late, but he was taking them to school, and he'd said that he was going to they were going to ride their scooters. Then they were running late, so he'd said, you know what, we haven't got time to ride scooters, I'll drive you, and I need to keep going straight to work from there. So I wasn't working that day. I only work 3 days a week now for my job because I'm a relationships coach. So I'd said to the girls, you know what, I'll scoot you to school, that's fine. And it became a little bit of an issue because for my husband, he really felt like, hold on a minute, I told the girls something and they've gone against me. They've gone and asked you this question. And it wasn't that at all. But in that moment, he was feeling as if somebody was out to get him. So his experience of that particular scenario was that between me and the children, we had conspired not to honor him and honor the thing that he wanted. By the time that we were both in a calm enough space to have a conversation about it, we managed to resolve that really quickly, mainly because I shift my mindset. So I meet him in a different space and then he responds to me in a different space. Anyway, a long example to say that what's in you is how you will experience your marriage. If you're looking for a way that your husband shows that he loves and cares about you, you'll see it. He won't do a different thing, but you will just see it differently. And if you're looking for another reinforcement of the pain, frustration, and all of that you've got going on, you will see that as well. So you can only experience what you're thinking about. Be mindful. What are you thinking about? So, exaltations. I love this word. At the end of the day, it's celebrate your husband. The things that, and so again, this is further on a similar theme, but the things that we celebrate, we magnify. Okay, so what, and when I say celebrate, it doesn't always have to be we pop the champagne, because sometimes unwittingly we celebrate the negativity. And what do I mean by that? The negative, something happens that you don't like and it gets all the attention. All of your focus goes on the thing you didn't like, and you are ruminating on this thing, pardon me, and you are talking about it to anyone who will listen. And if there's no one who will listen, then you and your inner voice are talking about, what about this, and how comes, and all of the stuff that went on. You're going into it, and so you're not popping the champagne, but you are giving it the energy, you're giving it the attention. And every time you get an opportunity to think about, something else, maybe you're watching TV, you're doing whatever else, then it pops back into your mind. And guess what? It gets all the attention all over again. So the point here is be mindful about what you celebrate, and you actually need to be intentional about it as well. So if you feel like the negativity pops up and it's taking your attention, you need to deliberately think a different thought. And a great way of doing that is gratitude. Now, I'll talk about this all the time, but finding things to be grateful about is going to really change the focus of what's going on in your life. So I've got a slide coming up in a couple of what do you call these things? So I'm going to get into the gratitude a bit more, but the thing that you give your attention to, it magnifies. Okay, so be mindful about what you're doing there. So I love that picture. Self-centered is not selfish. Now this one often gets people, well, they get a bit confused by it, because we've really, in this society, we're really in this way where, we think that it's good to be giving, and it's good to, we show our love by denying ourselves so that the other person can be more and have more. And it's laudable, and it's virtue signaling. And aren't I such an amazing person because I did all this amazing stuff for everybody else? But do you know what? Honestly, that doesn't work. And you know why it doesn't work? Because secretly, there is a thing that you would have rather done. By being selfless, you are denying yourself. And I think for lots of people, everybody actually, you deny yourself in the hopes that somebody else will uphold you. And I guess they deny themselves. So the problem comes in when the other person doesn't uphold you the way you want them to. They might uphold you the way they would want you to. So we all behave in the way that we would want So a good example is I love it when the car's got petrol. So if I ever drive my husband's car, I try and make a point of putting petrol in the car. He doesn't necessarily put petrol in the car when he drives my car. And if there's money in the car, he spends my money. It's our money, we're married. But the point I'm making, if there's change that's in the car, I probably left it there so I could get some sweets for the girls or whatever it is. So it, that annoys me. But those things don't annoy him. He shows me that love and care. When he's got my car, he cleans it. So when I get in the car again, it's gleaming and shiny on the outside. He's hoovered and swept out the inside. He's all taken out the car seats and like pristine. It gets a new little air freshener thing. He's an acts of service kind of person. Like, he doesn't worry so much about spending the money that's in the car, but he gives me back a nice car to drive. So where I'm sitting there thinking, I would rather have the petrol, it's nice to have a clean car. Anyway, the point I'm making here is being selfless can often create a problem when the other person doesn't behave the way that we're expecting. And do you know what? There is like a million different ways that people can behave. So, this whole idea about being selfless and hoping that somebody else does the thing for you that you want them to do, you're pretty much guaranteed to be disappointed and find a thing to complain about. From a statistical standpoint, there's like a million different ways that a person can behave. And if you're only going to be happy by one of them, five of them, or, like a limited number, you're probably going to be miserable. So self-centered, it's not being selfish. It's not having for yourself at the expense of others. So I'm having for myself and care less about what's going on for anyone else. But it is starting with yourself. It is starting with, what do I want out of this particular scenario? And let me make sure I get that. And while I'm getting that, if there's anything I can do for you as well, like, happy. And you're going to do that from a happy, giving position. And if the other person doesn't do what you need, like, you don't care because you got what you wanted. You made sure, right? So self-centered is not selfish. Everybody should be going for self-centered. If everybody went for self-centered, nobody would be going without. I've said it. I've said it. Right. So the next one is gratitude. So I said I was going to do a piece around gratitude, and it is your most powerful tool in your armor. Okay. Like attracts like. If you create space, you can't possibly bring into your life more love when you're busy being frustrated about what's already in your life. If you're busy being frustrated, hurt, annoyed, all of that negativity, guess what you've got space for? Guess what you're attracting? Exactly. Pardon me. Exactly. More hurt, pain, negativity, and all of that kind of stuff. So, gratitude, even for the tiniest thing, like, you're irritated, he didn't change the sheets, but you know what, though? He didn't, like, he didn't leave them even messier. I don't know. He did. I'm annoyed that he spent the money in the car, but I mean, at least I got the car back. I've been trying to say to my own children with this gratitude piece that we don't compare to the version we wanted. We compare to nothing at all. Okay, so is the thing that you've got better than nothing at all? And if yes, happy days. Like, I might not have the car on exactly the way that I want it with the money in there, but at least I got the car back. I wasn't on the bus, for that particular thing. Maybe there's a different day when I want to be on the bus. Separate conversation. Gratitude, your most powerful tool in your armor. Finding things to be grateful for creates for you opportunities to be grateful in the future. Now, forgiveness. This one is tough. I get it. This one is difficult because he's done you wrong. And if it's not your husband, I mean, it's your husband because we're talking marriage here, but whatever it is that you've got going on that you can't forgive, like, I get it, because you've been wronged and you're justified in feeling hurt and feeling aggrieved and all of that stuff, that you're justified. You're right. You are right. You're so right. But do you know what, though? What does right get you? It gets you nothing, nothing at all. Being right gets you the ability to sit down with your frustration saying, well, I deserve to. Blah, blah. Um, but it doesn't get you the loving relationship that you want. And I know you want a loving relationship because you're watching this webinar. And I want the loving relationship, so I've made the webinar. you know? So it's really hard. I get it. The whole forgive them piece is really hard. But again, in the words of Louise Hay, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? And I would choose happy over right anytime. But until I heard Louise Hay in her audio, that word, in her spoken book, um, and she'd said, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? And I just thought, why didn't I, in my how many years on the planet, think about it that way? I would rather be happy. Like, I'm right, I get that, but I'd rather be happy. So let go and move on. Louise Hay has a phrase that she says, I bless you with love and I release you from my life. And when that's not necessarily saying that, you're releasing your husband, but the thing you can't forgive, that thing. Okay, don't release it with frustration, negativity, resentment. Just release it with love. I bless you with love and I release you from my life. And it's not easy, it's not a panacea, isn't fix things overnight. But honestly, I promise you, if you are still feeling like I've done the gratitude, I've done the being self-centered, I've done the exalting on the good, I've done the thinking about where I experience my relationship, I've done the set the good expectations, and Nadine, come on, it's still not working for me, right? It will be because there's a thing that you're not forgiving, and the fact that you won't forgive and release this thing is holding you in a space of negativity. Your good cannot come if you are held in that space of negativity. You got to let it go. And yeah, right up there, okay, resentment. It's like drinking poison and hoping the other person suffers. The other person could care less, right? You're the one who's suffering. So yeah. Okay, so only a couple of slides to go. So future thinking, I came across this idea. I was listening to a book by Jane McGonigal called, I think it's called Imaginable by Jane McGonigal. So it's all about thinking in the future. So, but here's the thing, from a coaching point of view, you'll hear coaches saying all the time, if you want a different thing, you've got to do a different thing. Or, if nothing changes, nothing is going to change, But I mean, it's so true. In future thinking, Jane McGonigal takes us through this process where she gets you to visualize when you wake up in the morning. Now, I spun that slightly and I've made it, imagine what the scene is when you get home from work tomorrow. And now imagine that vividly. Okay, what time are you getting home? Who is at home already? What is going to be the conversation that is had when you get there? What are you going to do when you get home? Are you going to take off your work clothes, kick off your shoes? Is dinner cooking already? Do you have to cook the dinner? Do you have to pick up the children? Do you have to what? Like everything. What is your scene? Is it going to be loving? Is your husband waiting for you open arms and his happy days? Is it going to be an argument that you'd had is being rehashed and you're going over it again? Is it going to be you had an argument, but you're letting that pass and you're having a new moment and you're moving forward in your newness? So you imagine what it will be like when you come home from work tomorrow. And generally we can imagine tomorrow really easily because it's really close. And then she takes you through, imagine that 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. But I'm just going to say, imagine when you come home from work in 1 year's time, it is exactly the same as when you came home from work today. And now I know that at the moment, for the most part, it's not lovely in your marriage. Okay, otherwise you're not watching this webinar. So if in a year's time it's still not lovely, I mean, all I can do is scratch my head here. The point I'm making is This is the cost of inaction. If you don't do anything, it will be the same. If you keep sitting down saying, well, I just hope things are difficult right now, if you don't do anything at all, 1 year from now is going to be the same as it is right now. So you need to do something. There is a whole world of things out there for you to do. A really good thing for you to do is have a think about your mindset. I've gone over 8 or 9 tips in this webinar today. So a really great thing for you to do is go over those particular tips and see if you can put any of those things into action and change your life. That could be one really great thing for you to do. There are like how many books out there? There are how many other webinars? There's all kinds of stuff. There's things out there. You've got to do something. What you've been doing isn't working. Otherwise, you will not be sitting here right now. So you've got to do something different. You don't have to. If you want your life to be the same in 1 year as it is right now, don't do anything. But if the idea that your life in 1 year is exactly the same as it is right now, which is what I came to the conclusion of, oh hell no, there needed to be a change. So yeah, future thinking, try and visualize it. Imagine what would happen, what your life is like now, what it's like in a year's time. And if you're not happy with that, action. You'll take some action. Okay, so is staying really right. Now, I couldn't not address this concept, okay, because sometimes, people have got the complaint to me that I'm saying that whether or not, no matter how bad the relationship is, you got to find a way of dealing with it. You got to breathe in, you've got to be calm, all of those kinds of things. And I'm not saying that we put up with mistreatment. I'm not saying that. If there's abuse, mistreatment, narcissism, violence, all of that, of course, that stuff is wrong. You go and you deal with that. If you feel like the love has gone in your relationship, deal with that. And lots of the things that I talked about today will help you to deal with that. But the thing about is staying really right is understand you'll probably be worse off financially. That's all right. But that your relationship is experienced, like it's in you, it's experienced in you. So whether you stay or go, whatever is in you is still going to be in you, regardless of whether you are trying to get the relational outcome that you need or not. A new partner is not going to change what is in you. Only you can change what is in you. So what I will say is, have a think about whether staying is really right for you or not. And as I said, if there's abuse, mistreatment, etc., it's definitely not right. You got to deal with that stuff. But if it's you got to deal with that. And you got to deal with that whether you stay with your husband or whether you leave your husband. When you leave, you take your problems with you and you will find them in a new relationship. And if you stay being single, you will still find yourself miserable on your own. That is, it's just is how it is. Okay. So one way or the other, you got to do something about what is going on for you, and you got to take responsibility. Whatever it is that you're thinking, feeling, doing, that's what you are doing. You're experiencing it inside your head, inside your body. He is experiencing his relationship inside his head, his body. So yeah, you think about whether you're going to stay or not, but you deal with the issues either way, is what I'm saying here. Okay, so coaching. What we've talked about, also I've talked to you about some of the authors that I've been reading and listening to: Wayne Dyer and Jane McConigal, Louise Hay, Donald Walsh. Like, there's a whole raft of people out there, Michael A. Singer. There's loads of people out there writing lots of amazing stuff from a relationship point of view. The Gottman relationship researchers. But at the end of the day, information is just that. It's just information. Like, it doesn't do anything. It's great to read. It's brilliant. We're informed. but it isn't transformational in itself. You got to do something. So you've read a great book, you got to do the things in the book. You've joined the webinar, you got to do the things in the webinar. So for coaching, as your coach, I help you to put into action the things that you have said that you want to do. And I know that you can make a plan and say to yourself, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And you know what? We all make those plans at New Year's, or we decide we're going to do this diet, or we're going to save this money, or we're going to, whatever it is, we've got the plans. And sometimes we stick to those plans, and sometimes life happens and we don't stick to those plans. So for people who you've set yourself the commitment, a coach simply keeps you accountable and helps you stick to those plans. Okay. So for me, the clients that I'm working with, I was like, I'm not some magic person. I can't make things better for them. They have to do it themselves. But I eliminate their blind spots. Like, I talk things through and I highlight for them where their thought process might be creating the issue, where the mindset might be creating the issue, where their expectations are creating the issue, or where their own inconsistencies, where they had said they're going to do X, Y, and Z and they didn't. So that's what a coach can do for you. So if you have heard all of this stuff and you're thinking, I know none of what you said is new, Nadine, because honestly, it's not, like, spoiler, there's nothing new. We are in like the year 2023. Everything that has been thought already. It is out there. If anybody tries to tell you that they've got some new thing, there's nothing new. There is nothing new. You know what there is? There is your life and how you choose to live it. So anyway, I digress. As I said, if you want to work with somebody, it could be me, it could be whoever. Coaching is an exceptional way of bringing yourself from where you are to where you want to be, being aware of your habits, your beliefs, your actions, all of those things that create your reality. If you are interested, even in just exploring what it might be like to work with me, definitely jump on a call. I will put it's not going to be on this slide, but maybe I'll find a way of putting a link afterwards, or you just go on my website, nadinabeng.com, and you can find the link to my calendar so you can book a free session with me, and we can have a chat and work out whether or not coaching is going to work for you. If it doesn't work for you, like, it's all good, but you'll still get some value out of the free session. And if it does work for you, then golden, we'll work together. Okay, so just whiz over these bits really quickly. These are from the website, just some testimonials from some of the women that I've worked with. So Sarah, I trained with her, we did our accreditation together, but Jodie and Leonie, I worked with those women after I was accredited, and we just kind of do some life reflecting, and they, as you can see here, found me amazing to work with because I'm very cool. Okay, so that's it. If you want to get in touch, get in touch. More than that, definitely check out my calendar, check out my socials. I've got a YouTube channel now as well, so lots of videos coming out all the time as well. There's definitely a way for you to get some value. If you've got any questions, comments, or anything else, check out the website. And the last thing I'll leave you with are just the coaching, that session around the future thinking. If you want your future relationship to be the same as your relationship is today, do nothing. Don't do anything at all. Just keep going. Keep doing what you've been doing. But if you want something different, contact me. I can help you get something different. Take care. Speak soon.